Hey team, welcome to Inside the Movie Photographer with Jasin Boland. Today I've got Helen Sloan, principal photographer of Game of Thrones. Now, to be honest, and Helen doesn't even know this, I'm the perfect person to be going through her photos with her because I have never seen a single episode of Game of Thrones. Shock, horror, yes, I know. I've been living under a rock. Now, Helen's been a photographer since as long as she can remember. Her first camera she got when she was 11 years old, and it started a lifelong passion for photography, to the point that she got her first break when she was around 18, hanging out with all the circus folk in Northern Ireland, and a producer saw her images and gave her a first gig. So I'm going to bring Helen on now, and you guys, I'm telling you, are in for a massive treat. These images are incredible. Some of them are in her book, some of them are not, but hey, welcome to Helen. Hey, mate.
Oh, hi.
How's it going, Sloanie?
Going great, JC.
Hey, I'm so stoked to have you. You have no idea. And I don't think I've ever told you that I've never watched a single episode of Game of Thrones. And just off the bat, GOT isn't the substance that makes you up, because you're an astounding photographer who's been doing this for a long, long time. But, you know, like myself, there's projects that define us. And I feel that those projects are really something to be proud of.
Yeah, I mean, Game of Thrones was 10 years of my life, and it's still, you know, ongoing. It's the thing that career-wise, it's the thing that I talk about the most, and probably the thing that I will talk about the most for the rest of my life, you know. I mean, it's such a phenomenon, and like really, you know, in terms of photography and being a photographer, like just, you know, the privilege of being the person who documented years, you know, right from the first day of it, every day until the last day, you know. It's like to be able to, you know, roam around, because as photographers we're kind of a, you know, a one-person band, and we roam around. And on that project I got to document the whole ballet of it. I got to meet almost everyone that was involved. You know, I went to all the workshops, I met the producers, I went to the premiere in New York. It was like I just got to meet and interact with the whole spectrum of people involved in making a TV show, and that's really incredible. And I think there are very few people in the crew who actually got to meet everyone and speak to them and get to know them and get to experience, you know, 360 degrees of art on an industrial scale like that. You know, it's just incredible. And there wasn't a day that went by that I didn't learn something on that project. You know, it was huge.
Yeah, it is massive, and every episode was like a big budget film, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. There was, you know, from our big battles to our huge, you know, these like expansive, richly detailed sets and costume. Like I've never seen costumes like that in my life. I've never seen anything like that on another show. Just the detail, the attention to detail that Michelle Clapton put into the costumes. And like, I think every day something would come on set and I'd be like, whoa. And to be constantly wowed by something that's just reigniting that little spark of passion, because there's days where we're tired, you know. Yeah. And the best thing that you can ask for is just for a wow job, you know. Yeah. That just keeps you, you know, going every single day for 10, whatever it is straight.
10 years. How many episodes was that?
I hope I get this right. I think it's 73.
73. Well, I'm sure that someone will put it in the comments downstairs if it's not right. There's now with nice coffee cup there, Sloanie. What's it? I have one of them. What's it say on the other side?
I think I've got yours.
Oh, very good. Yes, it's a massive privilege for us to share that title of Nikon Ambassador, and it's you know, it's it opens doors, and in many respects of us being able to get out there with the enthusiasts. And you know, for me, the enthusiast is the heart of photography, and for us to share our experiences with them through Nikon is a great privilege, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's so funny that, like, as a little kid, you know, borrowing my dad's camera to go on a school trip, and then, you know, buying a Nikon camera for college, and, you know, to photograph all my circus work. And then just one day out of nowhere to get a call from Nikon to say, do you want to be an ambassador? And there was no, you know, like, kind of real lead up to that. It was just, and I thought it was a joke. I think I actually, oh, is this a wind up? And then, you know, from that, just going to meet the team, and they're just such a nice team at Nikon UK, and like to hang out at the photography show with them. And we really have had a lot of fun. So
Yeah.
I think I just feel sometimes like I'm living this charmed life where just everything just keeps falling into place. You know, it's really unbelievable. It's really unbelievable to be, you know, I mean, I don't want to go on and on about Northern Ireland, but to grow up in Northern Ireland and to kind of feel like not a lot of opportunities at times, and then all of a sudden there's something that exactly is what you've always dreamt of. It's just incredible. And so many people on Game of Thrones just have learned a craft and gained a career from that one project rolling into town. It's just, you know, you can't even imagine the scale of what it's done for Belfast.
That's a really good point, actually, because we met when I was on Dracula Untold, and it was lucky for me that you were working on Game of Thrones at the moment, because I probably wouldn't have got it. But I just fell in love with the place. There's an amazing heart that is in Belfast, and the people are very, very, very protective of each other.
Yeah, hugely. I mean, I think when you know, a country goes through a collective struggle, you know, no matter what side of the fence you were on, or if you're sitting on top of the fence, I think when you go through collective pain, I think you are very protective of each other. And when things come in, like these big projects and, you know, all the other great things that have happened in Northern Ireland over the last 10, 15 years, we are extremely proud of it, you know, extremely proud. And I love that, you know, people are coming here now to see the Game sets or whatever, but then they're saying like, oh God, the people are so nice. You know, even a load of the crew have decided to just stay here. You know, a lot of the English,
that's great.
A few of the American crew, like I actually had a text message from someone quite high up who shall remain nameless, but they just said that every day we think about packing up and coming back because we miss it so much. We miss the people, we miss, you know, the landscape. So,
yeah, the landscape. I mean, I've still got friends that I speak to over there all the time from that project, and you know, including yourself. And I would go back there in a heartbeat. Yeah. Hey, Sloanie, should we have a look at a few of your photos? What do you think?
Please.
There's so many, and so many amazing ones. I would normally chop them down, but I can't. So, so we're going to go through it, and two photographers talking about some images together. And and like I said, I have not seen a single episode. So this is everything I know about Game of Thrones. I know through Helen Sloan.
Can't believe you've never seen it.
I know, right?
Well, I just started watching The Sopranos, so I guess, you know, I'm a few years behind as well.
Oh, yeah, right. Now, the first challenge for me in shooting in the UK is the light, and you know, it offers its advantages and disadvantages, but you've been able to really use it to your advantage all the time, like this big, super soft scrim that just bounces all over the place. I mean, this is just beautiful.
I mean, it's usually very overcast. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm from here that I'm used to it. It's the light that I love. It's the, you know, it's very diffused. It's because there's never a time when there's not cloud cover here. Let's face it, you know, that's why the place is so green. It's just constantly raining. But I think for a show like Game of Thrones, you know, the overcast weather and the rain and everything, and whenever we weren't creating our own rain, you know, or the DOP wasn't creating the kind of the moody light, and it's like our exterior scenes, the weather here really lends itself to the mood, you know, of the show. And I think it was the perfect place to film Game of Thrones. And like I keep saying, you know, everything just fell into place so beautifully.
Yeah, no, it's and you're a great lover of behind the scenes shots, like I am too. And some of the images that you have here, oh my gosh, it's like, oh, see there, here you go. Hold on, I'm going to get rid of my. There you go. Look at your glory. Now I've got a big screen up in front of me, so if I look up every now and again, it's because I'm really studying it. I love a good BTS, and you know, what do we got? We got the sound assistant doing the radio mic. We got makeup, hair. Johnny,
Candice, and Donna, and Brian there.
Oh, see, I love it. This is what I love. Is just like hearing. It's, you know, like it doesn't matter how many times you look at these images, it brings back memories, right, of your friends.
Oh, look, I mean, when I was putting the book together, I think I cried every single day.
Oh.
Well, you know yourself, you know, like at the end of a movie, you've spent, you know, 16 hours a day with people, and all of a sudden it's like, you know, and intense feelings for all of these people who are now, you know, gone.
No, that seems to be the theme with all of us guys, you know, being one-man department or one-woman department, one-person department, that it's very much family for us and for everyone on a film set. You know, everyone has birthdays. I mean, you had 10 birthdays with the whole crew, and it's really a very, very unique workplace. And, you know, some people come and go and then they come back again, whereas in a normal workplace, that just doesn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, over the course of a 10-year, I mean, a job that's kind of singular, you know, where you're not coming back for another series, you know, a lot happens over the space of a job. When you're talking about 10 years, because there's a lot of crew who were there every season. Like there was marriages, divorce, there was death, people had babies, crew members fell in love and got married. You know, it's like, I mean, it's just, you know, it's like if we all live a long time, it's an 1/8 of our lives. It's like, you know.
Well, yeah, there you go. That's a really good point. So what's that, about 15%, 12%? I'm terrible at math. I'm a photographer. Hey, now, Sloaney, we've talked about this before. I mean, HBO gave you a great deal of responsibility, which most photographers like myself don't get. Now, I do my own edits now and have done for some time on particular projects because I want my work to look as wonderful as possible and take away the pain from other people. But you've been doing this for the full 10 years and probably a bit of a trailblazer when it comes to this. I mean, you've been almost instrumental in what gets out, right?
I mean, I think it was a collaborative effort. You know, the photo editor Vicky and I. It was lovely to work with the same person for the whole 10 years. You know, like right from the pilot. I mean, this was actually season 1. This was one of the first photos that went out of Danny. But yeah, I mean, way back in the pilot, when no one really knew what the show was gonna end up looking like, there was the kind of idea was that they had hired me based on a portfolio that I'd sent in, and they loved some of the shots in the portfolio, and Vicky just said, look, you know, just do something with it, send it back to me. We haven't seen any rushes, we haven't seen any files, just do what you think and send it back. And if it's not, you know, if we'll change it. If this is a pilot, you know, everybody's kind of moving and grooving together. And David and Dan also, they just said, look, be creative. We want everybody to be creative. That's why we hired you. You know, we want this to be like one big giant organism, just kind of organically building something. So I did these really quite hard grades on the photographs. It's fantasy, you know, you can totally get away with it. So I just went into my own kind of little fantasy of what I thought it should look like. And luckily for me, HBO were like, oh, that's it, keep doing that.
Is it, what are you using there? Is it radial and tonal contrast?
It depends on the image. I'm using a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I don't have, a lot of people say, oh, do you just batch things? And I'm like, oh God.
You can't, right? Every image works differently depending on the light.
Because one minute I'm looking at her and then I turn around and I'm looking into a dark tint, so I can't like batch the same grade on those images. So I just do a lot. I shift it around by eye. It's a mixture of a lot of different things. Obviously, color saturation, obviously contrast, but it just depends on the image. So it's a terrible sort of teaching question when people ask, like, oh, how do you get your images like that? And I'm like, well, you'd have to sit with me for 3 hours because everyone is different.
That's right. I mean, with my Mad Max stuff, as you know, I did a lot of work on that and on my images. And I still have all those presets, and it's so funny. Like some of the presets that I'll have for smoke or for an exterior, I'll put it through another image, and it looks absolutely disgusting. But but with the right image, those presets that you have, and they all obviously they all need tweaking. It's quite astounding how just a tiny shift of light can change what you have made for a particular image.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always just do it by eye. I mean, it's an incredibly slow process to do it that way, and I'm sure a lot of photographers would balk at it and say that I should be doing more presets and do it, but every artist works in their own way, and what works for me might not work for someone else, and I think we just have to allow each other the flexibility.
Yeah, well, with I have to do presets now because I have to do smart layers when I deliver for one of the studios I work for. So yeah, everything's saved so that then they can, if there's a frame next to it, they can sort of match what I've done. So which is really nice of them to acknowledge us as photographers and our creativity, what we're doing. But this is a massively famous photograph. I've seen this one for years. I can't believe that didn't make me want to see the series. Now, yes. Here you go. Now, Sloaney, you and your action, mate, I tell you, I absolutely adore it.
Yeah, I think it's, I think I get sort of carried away with the adrenaline of it all. I mean, when you're looking at the world, or when you're looking at this world, I mean, there's obviously two worlds. There's the one there, and then there's the one there. And when I'm there, I'm in that world. I'm a real kind of like, I was one of those kids that was always off in like some imaginary land of my own. And so this industry is just so perfect for me because I professionally get to, wander into dragons and battles and princesses and all, and it's what I do for a living. And when it comes to the action stuff, you have to be in it,
Yeah.
It's like, I always think about, circus. And when I was working with the circus, it was all about, if I'm working with a juggler, obviously juggling is for the kind of professional end of juggling. There's actually like a sport juggling contest.
Really?
Yeah, it's the most incredible thing. Like there, 12 rings, and it's all about, exact moves. And so when I was doing all of that, I actually had to sit down and learn the tricks, not physically learn them, but learn what they looked like, so that when I give a juggler a photograph, they're going to say, oh, great, you got the trick. Because what's the point? Otherwise, there's no proof that they can do that trick. And I feel like it's the same with action. You have to almost watch the rehearsals as if you'll be expected to do the stunt.
Yeah.
Because then the exact moments, the moves, where, what your distances are, how to document it properly in a way that the actor, the stuntman, the stunt coordinator, the director, everybody's going to be happy because they're going to go, yeah, that's the moment. I think
I'm totally with you on that. With me is 100% what you're saying is like, I come from a newspaper background, so work on a film set like I'm a PJ, like I'm a photojournalist, and to me the environment is very real. As soon as action is called, to me what is happening in front of me is the real world. And
Yeah.
you know, it's exactly what you were saying. And with the rehearsals, with the stunts, yeah, I go through my choreography on that, and I pick out the moment that I want, and I'll zero in on just that moment. I mean, I flow through with my Nikons and throw them around a lot, but there's one point which I know which is going to work, but
Yeah.
I have to move into it with it. And what you're saying, it's interesting to listen to the wonderful action photographers that there's a very similar style.
Well, I think, you know, it's our responsibility to document these people's art, you know, not just the actors, but the stunt performers, coordinators. You know, at the end of the day, the photographs are a legacy of everyone's hard work. And, you know, so there's a huge responsibility to get it right, because there's a big difference between a really good action photo and an action photo where the person wasn't really engaged with what was happening in front of them. Yeah,
there's a lot, you see a lot out there of exactly that it was just a click. There was no passion put behind it. The lighting you guys had, how many DPs did you have over the 10 years? Can you remember?
Oh no, it's like a quiz.
No, there's no quiz. It's just because the lighting is beautiful.
I feel like there's a load of questions I should know just off the top of my head. We had so many DOPs, and every single one of them had something that made them really special.
Yeah.
So it just, and they all had very different ways of working and ways of lighting, but somehow over the period of all the series, it just all gelled in a really beautiful way with a kind of, it was like an umbrella of lighting. And then you have each little spoke underneath that made it up, you know? So it was.
Yeah, and then you get to find those other little pockets of light that they didn't light for, which works for us, but doesn't work for the production, right?
Well, the last one, I remember one of the DOPs saying, "When was that?"
There you go, right?
And he just looks like it's like some kind of Renaissance painting, that one. I love that picture so much. It was just a little moment, you know, in between, but yeah.
It is very Renaissance, and this is just classic. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she's intense. She's amazing.
What world is Game of Thrones set in? See, this is the rookie here. Everyone's laughing now. But, I mean, is there a particular country, or is it complete fantasy country?
It's a fantasy country called Westeros.
Westeros.
You've got Essos as well. And
do they speak English?
They do speak English. There are a lot of languages, though, but our characters here, they speak English. They all have a sort of a Northern English. I'm sure you've heard people do impressions of Jon Snow.
Come on, do one.
Oh, my name's Jon Snow. Kit's going to kill me for that.
Oh, I love it. Hold on. Oh, damn it. I should have had you full screen for that one.
Got the hair.
So, Sloaney, is this location or studio? It looks location.
It's a forest in Northern Ireland called Saintfield, and this tree, it's the fictional name for the place is called the Godswood. So we went into the forest, and the art department and the greens department did such an amazing job on this tree. So this special tree that has they made it white, and then these leaves are actually added on. They're fake, and then the pond in front of him is also fake, so that it was kind of like a mixture of real and created by us, well, not me, the art department and the greens department, and it was just so, I mean, the Godswood is a beautiful, peaceful place that this family go, they pray there, you know, they do some rituals there, and it always, when we arrived in the Godswood, it always felt like we had a special place.
Yes.
And then, you know, just every time I drive by there, it's almost like that's my special place in there where we go to, you know, be chill. It's the Godswood, and it'll always be the Godswood. It's not Saintfield to me. It's the Godswood. You know, it's
yeah.
So it's amazing that the sets and the scenes and everything, it moved us as a crew. I think there were some really beautiful moments, and Sean is just so special. You know, there's something about him. He's so stoic, and he's like, you know, he's the father of the main family.
Right. There's always locations that we just love, and there's so many of these beautiful tender moments. I know we've got a special photo coming up in a bit too.
Well, I think like these tender moments, I mean, to be honest, you have to be compelled by the story as a photographer, I think. And if it's not your thing, you still have to know the story. You still have to know what it is you're actually trying to capture, because I mean, this whole relationship between this mother and her son, you know, you could photograph that badly. It's our responsibility to photograph, to capture that moment and be compelled by the poetry that's being performed in front of us, because if you have to treat it like live theater, I think. Yeah. You know, I don't want to say, oh, Michelle, could you just kiss him on the head again for me? You know, I just want to get that, because she's already lived that moment in character, you know, not as Michelle Fairley, but as Caitlin Stark. And that moment happened, and if I was, you know, not there with them to get it, then that's my fault.
Yeah, I call it the director's performance. That, you know, I very rarely do a setup unless I totally need it. I find 9 times out of 10 it sucks the life out of an image. But you know, getting that director's performance from an actor, they're never going to give it any more than what they're giving the director. They're not going to give it any more ever. So yeah, I totally agree. It's incredible moments. God, you must have just had a field day photographing her. I mean, those eyes, just the structure. I mean, and I don't know, because I don't know her, but I find with some actresses, the best ones are the ones that aren't symmetrical in any way. They have different, you know, from different angles, they're completely different looks. I mean, is she one of those?
I think she's pretty symmetrical. I think she's just really magical. And I know it's kind of a cheesy thing to say, but so unusual looking. You know, she's so incredibly beautiful, and you know, just I've not met anyone else that looks like her. I think that's key. But she's also really she's really easy to work with. She just lets you be there. You know, I think I was really spoiled on Thrones because the actors just got it, you know, and you know, they just understand that if you let a photographer work, you'll get better images. And the people who are consuming these images, you know, the producers, the actors, even the public, the people who are looking at them, people want beauty. And I don't think you can get that beauty, that feeling, that emotion with setups. I just don't think it happens. And I know that, you know, a film set it's an intense place. It's, you know, everyone's trying to do their job under a huge amount of pressure. It's a really intensive environment. And I think as stills photographers, maybe more so than other photography jobs, we have to be able to just insinuate ourselves into that world seamlessly, you know, and just be there, be part of the furniture, be a fly on the wall, whatever way you want to describe it, just to the point where the actors are like, oh yeah, you know, they don't even notice us anymore. And I think always my favorite thing is when an actor walks up to me and says, oh, where were you? That was a great scene. And I was like, I was right there, dude. I shot about 2 months.
I know, right? Because we're only as good as the access we create for ourselves, and that comes with the cooperation of all the crew, you know. And you can't get an image if you don't have access.
No, it's all about access. You know, it's all about building relationships of trust, and you know, there's hundreds of personalities on set, and I think, you know, one of the greatest skills of the stills photographer is being able to make friends with hundreds of different types of people really quickly. Yeah,
from all different walks of life. And you know, I love one of the guys that I met on Dracula. He was a security guy, and I used to sit and hang out with him every day. And a guy called John, and and I gave him a black rapid strap, and then it was really sad to leave, kind of thing. And I talked to him every day, and then I found out about his story, and he had a bit of a tragic story with family over there, as with mental health issues and stuff like that. And it was from those chats with him for 3 months that he turned his love into photography into doing exhibitions and helping other people. And so, photography is a powerful tool. It instills passion, and it gives you an escape. And, I think that I know I hide behind my camera, but I don't know. Do you hide behind your camera a little bit?
Absolutely. Especially when you're using the blimp. It's so great to hide behind.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like a huge box.
Hey, now, we always talk about it that a production is only really as good as it can be amazing, but it's only as good as the background cast and the extras. And these guys, look at them; they're just full on. And you must have had many of the same ones over the 10-year period, right? I mean, it would have been almost a full-time job for a lot of people.
I mean, look, there was a core gang of extras. I mean, it was great actually. There's a journalist called Jamie East who'd come to do interviews with a lot of people whose lives were changed by Game of Thrones here. And it was lovely because he asked me to come and shoot some images for that. And we had this lovely afternoon in the Titanic Hotel, which you wouldn't have seen, that's new. But we got Carla Strong from Extras, like the big extras company here. So she organized all the extras who had been used the most. And it was just this like lovely reunion of all of these people. And of course, there's hundreds of them, and I can't learn everybody's name, but
yeah,
it's like it's like they're all your friends because you've had all these like nano conversations over 10 years, and you kind of know that they've got kids, and you know that they drive that car, they've got a dog, or all these just like lovely friends that you've been around for years. But I mean, these extras are nuts. Like the battle stuff was incredible. I loved it. We had a battle coordinator called Jamie who trained these guys as if they were going to war. And the lovely thing about our extras, and I'm sure other extras and other jobs as well, but our extras were just like, come on, and they had their little pockets where even, like out socially in bars, they'd be like, oh, we're not going to associate with them, they're the enemy, and it was this fun game that went on for 10 years in Belfast, and I just love that. They're just such nice people, like honestly such nice people. And I think there's a couple of guys actually that I speak to regularly, and they miss wearing their costumes so because they wore them for 10 years, it's
I know, right?
I think they truly believed they had joined an army.
Well, then that's the way that that it makes it believable. And yeah, I love it when you pull up a camera and they switch it on, and sometimes they look straight at you and it's like, no, do what you're doing. And then they go into their acting, and it's a bit of a treat for them too, I think, when we point a camera in their direction.
Oh, totally. Like we've got a couple of guys. There was a documentary made about the final season of Game of Thrones, and they featured one of our extras, Andy McClay, and they did a whole bit where they followed him around, and it was just great because he's one of those people who, when he's on set, he's just really living it, and I think he inspires a lot of the other extras.
Yeah. Well, here's our buddy, Big Dog.
The other Jasin.
Yeah, right. He is one of the coolest guys for me to photograph ever, and I'm sure was he that great as well on Thrones for you? Was he sweetheart?
He's just a dreamboat. His whole family are just incredible, and just not what you expect at all. He's so sweet. He's so sweet, and he's really inclusive. Again, he's just one of these actors who's like, yeah, come on, let's do some pictures. I love him, and he's got such zest and for life, and
he rock climbs and surfs, and there's I think without giving any secrets away, because there's a photo coming up, but you probably have one of him on your wall, right? Now, this is just, what is that? Is that meant to be like gold being poured over his head, or?
Yes, that's he was banging on. This chap was a bit of a nasty one, and he was banging on about wanting a crown. So they gave him one.
Oh, no way.
I don't want
to.
I mean, it's already spoiled for you, but yeah, he dies.
Hey, no spoilers. Oh, yeah, of course he died.
Yeah, he dies too.
Oh. You know, I'm going to watch this now after this. I've got 10 seasons. I've got time at the moment in between gigs. Look at that.
Better days for him there. Not that much better, though, as you can tell.
Yeah, right.
This was an in-between moment. This was one of these moments that I mean, I'm not sure if you call it behind the scenes. There's a lot of these in-between moments where I think actors, they're still in character and they're still in that world. So it hasn't quite gone into what I would call BTS. It's still a moment of that character that just wasn't filmed.
Yeah, when they're going through the lines, running lines through their head and stuff like that. I mean, I find that that nanosecond before action is called, it's almost like the point where they are the most pure of their character.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love him.
Yeah, Peter's a legend.
He really is. He's so handsome. Oh my gosh.
And his voice, I mean, listen, his voice is great. You could listen to Peter talk all day. It doesn't matter what he's saying. He's just got one of those voices that you're like, if there was ever a story of your life, you'd probably want him to narrate.
Yeah, there you go. Or do your own ADR. Oh God, just see, this is what I love about this, apart from the fact that it's a great shot. So many people, like I just finished doing a big Disney film with horses, and there'd be great shots, and I'd throw them out and I'd say, you know, you can't use it, blah blah blah, and they'd be like, why not? It's like, well, the ears aren't forward on the horse.
I know. The horses are characters too. You gotta make them beautiful, or the horse people are going to be happy. Yeah,
totally.
And it's important to please the horse people.
Yeah. Oh, that's the legendary crown. I mean, throne, right?
Yes, that is it.
Oh, is that all swords?
It's all swords, and it's not real swords. Our chief prop maker, our chief guy, Gavin Jones, made the throne, and that throne sat in the paint hall. It didn't move. It never went away. It sat there for 10 years. And it's funny because in between seasons, like after all the crew were gone, I had this little office down there. It's kind of like, just to explain it for people who haven't been there, it's sort of like a little like industrial wasteland kind of area, and right down at the bottom of this little sort of peninsula is this huge building where they used to paint ships, and that was our studio for 10 years, the paint hall studio. And we had little porta cabins like around the studio, and that was where I had my office. So after all the crew had left at night, I would sit there editing on my own in this like totally quiet, weird place.
Might be scary.
Kind of scary. And then plus the crew tell you like, oh, it's haunted with the ghosts of shipyard workers. But I mean, there used to be nights where long after filming had finished for the season, I would still be there, tidying up edits and putting together selections. And then when I was doing my book, I did a lot of it down there on my own with no other crew, just me and the security guys. And it was amazing. But there were times when I would just go and sit on the throne.
Really?
Yeah. And just in total quiet, no crew, because it had kind of become this other room in my life, like some kind of weird extension of my own home.
Oh, that is rad.
It was just weird. And, it wasn't until right at the end I actually got my photograph taken on it. Everyone did. But I had this really funny thing happen in the throne room. I don't know, maybe you don't want to hear a big silly story, but it was...
Yeah, I want to hear it. Everyone else wants to hear it too.
There was my assistant Trevor is this great guy who I've been working with now for years, and Trevor's kind of a law unto himself, and sometimes he just wanders off, and he's a fun guy, he's a funny guy. And so he would stay late at night with me sometimes, and he wandered off to like make a cup of tea or whatever. And I said, oh, while you're in there, would you turn off our studio lights? Because we had a little studio set up. And so time was ticking on, and Trevor hadn't come back, and I started to get a bit freaked out. And I was like, oh God, one of the ghosts of the shipyard workers has eaten him or something. And so then I decided I would go into the throne room and just check that he was okay. So you have to know that the throne room is cavernous, like it's massive, huge, and the ceiling went up like I think it's one of the tallest studios in Europe.
Wow.
You've got this huge high ceiling. You've got this huge cavernous empty room with just this throne, and then my little studio that I had set up in the middle of the floor. And I walked in, and just sitting underneath the heat of my top light was just this little fox. Just sitting right in the spot, just sitting staring at me. And my first thought when I walked in was, is Trevor a shapeshifter? But I went in and I sat on the throne, and the little fox just sat and looked at me. So I had this moment where I probably didn't look as pissed off as Jack looks in this photo, but I just had this really intense moment of having just total eye-to-eye contact with a little fox in the throne room.
Oh my God.
For like a minute, and then he just wandered off. That
is ridiculous. No way.
Yeah, there's so many.
That was a sign. Did you look it up? I mean, because you've got an Icelandic name, right?
Well, my daughter has an Icelandic name, and I have a name that everyone calls me in Iceland.
Yeah. So, team, that's the end of episode 1 with Helen Sloan. I hope you enjoyed that. I tell you, she's got some stories, and to have 10 years on the one production, and Game of Thrones at that, is pretty rad. Press the little bell, because there's 2 more to go, and I don't want you to miss out on any. So please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next ep. Cheers.